I was at a conference in Atlanta. I heard John speak for the first time. I didn't expect to get lasered with this many frameworks and systems for my life. And after he finished, I introduced myself and I told him about what we were building here, the movement, the divorced dads, the rebuild. And he honestly, he got quiet. And I was surprised. He said, I almost got divorced. It's very dear to my heart. Let me know how I can help. And I was absolutely blown away. I tucked that sentence into my heart for this moment today, just this specific moment. John is a husband, a father, an author. His books and talks have inspired millions of people around the world. Energy Bus, Carpenter, Training Camp, Positive Leadership. When he's not running through airports or speaking to businesses, hospitals, schools, you'll find him playing some pickleball or taking long walks, which is where he gets most and some of his best ideas. But John believes in keeping his bio short. He's a big deal because his past accomplishments are meaningless. What matters most is that he says something today that will inspire you to take action tomorrow. And guys, before we jump into this today with John, I ask you, as I do on every time, that this is not consumption. This is not a moment to add more things to your day. This is a moment where I believe that there's doing. I believe that there's action. I believe that you're going to get a nudge from a place that you never expected a nudge. And so I ask you to open your ears that you hear. Take a breath, take a step back, whatever you're doing and wherever you are at. And I want you to listen and hear with ears you've never heard before. John is giving us his most precious asset, his time. And I believe that in this time, your life can absolutely be changed. And John, I want to get into something very quickly for you and unpack this about what the heck was going on for you. When you said to me, I almost got divorced, what was going on for you in that moment?
Yeah, I was miserable. I was negative. I lost my job during the dot-com crash. So I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills. And my wife and I were fighting a lot. And I was being just, again, real negative, a jerk. And I was fearful. I was anxious. I was stressed. I was tired. I didn't know how I was going to provide for my family, how I was going to pay the bills, how I was going to get through this. Feeling like a failure, feeling like I wasn't living up to my potential, and blaming my wife for why I had not lived up to my dreams or my potential. And she said, if you don't change, we're over. And that was like a huge wake-up call. Like, she was ready to walk out. And I said, no, please stay. Let me work on this. Let me see if I can change. So she gave me a shot, and I began working on myself to become a more positive person. Now, I was a byproduct of divorce. My mom and my biological father got divorced when I was a year old. My mom remarried when I was 5 to my stepfather, who was obviously a father to other kids and had a family before that. And so their family, my family, we had this intermingling, right? We would see each other on different weekends. Sometimes my brother and I would go to our biological father's house. Other times our stepbrothers and sisters were coming to our house from our stepfather's family. So we were part of this, dynamic of a family that was always evolving, was very chaotic a lot of times, very stressful at times. When it was just me, my dad who raised me, I call him my dad because even though he's my stepfather, he was my dad.
Yeah.
And when it was us and my mom and my brother, we got along great. But it was always the chaos of going to our biological fathers or having the step siblings coming to our house where there was always issues. So I'm the product of divorce. I've experienced it. And at the same time, almost getting divorced. And I just know it's not easy. No matter what you do, it's just really hard. And my biological father and I don't have a relationship to this day. And I guess my hope with this podcast, hopefully we can encourage your listeners and also maybe just help them make better decisions and not the mistakes that my biological father made.
Yeah. So for you, when so you're coming from a family of divorce and you have some of that, those things that are happening in you and through you, you've experienced, and now all of a sudden you're on the doorstep with your bride, your love of your life, your best friend, and she's saying she's going to give you another shot and another chance. And I'm throwing this your way, John, because there are thousands of dads that are in this exact same scenario. Many of them don't get that next shot. Most of the guys I talk to, they don't get that next shot. And so I think there's two parts to this. Is one, what did you do specifically to say, I'm gonna fix this? Let's start on that part. What did you specifically get into, man?
Well, I think again, it always depends on the situation. And I know probably with your listeners, each guy is different, each situation is different. Sometimes it's the product of infidelity,
Yeah.
whether it's the man's infidelity or maybe the wife is cheating that leads to the divorce. Maybe it's a decision that you just no longer want to be in this marriage anymore. For me, I still loved my wife and I know she still loved me. I know she just didn't want to be married to the guy that was being that way. And I had to change and I was willing to change. And I do meet a lot of people where the guy's not willing to change. And I think that's a challenge too. Like they have too much pride, too big of an ego. And for me, I recognized that I needed to change and didn't like who I had become and wasn't the best version of me. So I wanted to get better. So this turned into a quest to get better myself, which now has led to a mission to help others get better. And so I began researching ways I could be more positive. And I stumbled upon this research that said you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time.
So good.
So if you're feeling blessed, you won't be stressed. So I came up with this idea of a thank you walk because I was a big walker. So while I was walking, I just started practicing gratitude to flood my body and brain with these positive emotions that would uplift me rather than the stress hormones that were slowly draining and killing me. And as I began doing that day in and day out, I noticed a difference. My wife noticed a difference. My mind began to shift. My spirit and soul began to feel nourished. And within a week, my wife noticed a difference. Within a month, a big difference. Within a year, yeah. Now it's been 25 years of thank you walks that have rewired my brain. And Anthony, that's what actually led me to write The Power of Positive Habits because I began writing about what I was doing to better myself, which led me to then eventually write books. But as I was writing this weekly positive tip newsletter, sharing them out for free, 5 subscribers initially, my mother, my brother, my best friend from college, now hundreds of thousands of people get this newsletter that I write. Years later, now I'm like, I want to write about all these habits that I've been doing over the years that has really elevated me and exponentially helped me grow in every area of my life. And I'm a completely different person than I was that guy who was going to, get divorced. I was a jerk and I was negative and always blaming my wife and had no emotional maturity and a lot of pride and a lot of ego. And I did need to change. My spiritual growth was a big part of that as well. And those are some of the other habits in the book and the physical habits. So this is like a collection of 93 habits that I've done over the years. And I've also shared these habits now with millions of people over the years and have all these great testimonies of people that have done these habits and how they've impacted them. And you're not going to do all 93, but you just pick a couple that fit you and you start doing them and you'll start to feel an amazing shift. And some of them are relational habits. Some of them are parenting habits of being a great dad. I wasn't always a great dad. I'm going to admit it. I was not. I had to work to become a better dad. I almost ruined my daughter's lacrosse career because I was such a jerk and so negative. So again, I've had to grow, and I just love helping others grow, especially men. And I don't have any judgment of a man who's getting divorced, and I don't have any judgment of a man who's gotten divorced. Again, for various reasons, we all live with regrets, but don't carry the pain and shame with you. Keep going forward and keep getting better. That's what life's all about.
Tell me about what you just said there. Don't carry the pain and shame with you. How, like, it's a throwaway line. We all hear it, right? Break that down because, John, the genius, when I heard you, the genius of you is there is so much of things that you understand statistically, personally, actually executing them. But when somebody brings that into their present, why do they not want to do that? And what happens when they let go of that?
Well, we're holding on to bitterness. We're holding on to anger. We're holding on to the wrongs of the past and often the shame and the blame of what happened. And often it's someone who hurt us or we did something to hurt someone or hurt ourselves. And as a result of that, we carry that and it becomes very heavy. It's like we're grasping and holding on to this hot coal with the intent at throwing it at someone else or ourselves. We're the one who's getting burned. So imagine you're holding this hot coal. Now release it. Just let it go. And as you let it go and you release it, that's called forgiveness. Forgive fast. Don't wait to forgive. Just forgive fast as you can. Because The faster you forgive, the sooner you start growing. And I have a great example of this. I went up to visit my biological father in my early 30s. I knew I wanted to write and speak, and yet I couldn't write. I had like writer's block,
Yeah.
and yet I knew I wanted to write. So I went up to go visit him. It wasn't like I was going to visit him to fix this. It was time to go visit him. And I went up there because I say it's time to go visit him. I felt called to go visit him. I felt God was pushing me in that direction. So I brought my daughter with me and I went to go see him, and I chose to forgive him. It was a nice conversation. And I just said, hey, I want to forgive you for not being there at my wedding. I want to forgive you for not being there in my life a lot of times. I want to forgive you for leaving when I was a year old. I've been carrying all this and I just want to let it go. I don't want to live life like this. I wasn't forgiving him for him. I was doing it for me so I can be free. Well, Anthony, I look back when I got home from that trip, that's when I actually started writing. I didn't realize that until recently. 33 books later, all the books I've written, the millions of copies that have been read by people, started when I chose to forgive my biological father and came home and then was able to start writing. I had to let go of the old in order to create the new. And now I often say, don't let old battles keep you from new victories. We fight these battles of the past, again, the pain, the shame, the blame, and we fight other people, the wrongs that they did or the wrongs we did to ourselves or others. And because of that, we don't have any energy to create our life the way we want to ultimately create it. And so you have to forgive. And when you forgive fast, you start growing. I wish I would have forgiven faster, because if I did, I would have forgiven in my 20s. I could have started writing in my 20s, not my 30s. I would have been a way ahead of the game, right? And so I could have achieved even more. I see some people that are speaking now in their 20s and they're crushing it. Maybe I could have got started sooner. So now my advice to people is don't wait. Just forgive. And this blame, this pain, this shame, it's like inflammation of the soul. And you're holding on to it, but you really do need to let it go. And someone the other day said, forgive fast, and you forgave your father. But what happens if the person you need to forgive is yourself? Same principle. Forgive yourself. Don't carry it. You're not who you were. You are who you are in the present, and you're becoming who you will be, and be excited about that. And I think too often we beat ourselves up from the things that happened in the past, and then we don't have the energy to create something new. And that's one thing I've become really good at. I do not beat myself up. I'm like, yeah, man, I was a jerk. Yeah, wow. Man, I was a horrible father. Yeah, I was a horrible husband. My wife and I will even talk about, can you believe you did that? No, I can't believe I did that. Like, man, that was really stupid of me. Yeah, thank God he changed my life. Thank God I accepted Jesus as my Savior at 35 years old, and I am a new creation, walking in freedom, walking in his presence and his peace and his power to now live a different life and create a different future. And that's what I've done, and that's what I want people to do. You don't have to walk in the past. You walk to create your future.
Yeah, that's good. So in the forgiveness lane, and I'm huge in this. I believe that everything that you just said is everything what the scriptures talks about and teaches about what the power of forgiveness does. But I also want to talk to there's so many dads, and most of them come in and there's some type of animosity toward their ex. In some way, whether it was infidelity, whether it was just getting up and leaving and having the kids. And there's just so much of that toxicity in them. And so as you walk down that road of forgiveness, because this isn't I'm curious because of how you actually had to do it. Because a lot of guys will just say, hey, Anthony, yeah, I forgave him. But, do they know what forgiveness is? Do they actually know what that means? And I'm curious, Jon, for you, if you could use your brilliance and your understanding of it and just unpack, like, what does it actually mean? What does it look like?
It's really hard to describe it.
Yeah.
To me, forgiveness is an act of unconditional love. If you think about your kids, you always forgive your kids no matter what they do. If people would do to us what our kids did or say to us what our kids said, we would never talk to them again. But with our kids, we forgive them because we unconditionally love them. And God forgives us because he unconditionally loves us. And it's why Jesus calls us to forgive 7 times, 70 times. That really means infinity. always forgive, because when you're forgiving, you're expressing unconditional love. And when you're expressing unconditional love, you are being like God, and you're able to now connect to God. If you're not unconditionally loving, you don't forgive. Now you're holding on to what I call sludge in your pipeline. And if you have sludge in your pipeline, sin, God can't move through you and flow through you like he wants to with his Holy Spirit. You have this blockage. So it's about letting go of the blockage, letting go of the, like I said, the inflammation of the soul, so that God can move through you in a powerful way. And so the act of forgiveness is where you're not condoning what they did. You are releasing them from what they did. So there's no longer any animosity or anger or any bitterness that is actually binding you two together. Because if you're still upset, if you're still angry, you're actually holding on to this bitterness, and there is now a tie between you and the other person. It's like a rope that is connected to both of you, or a chain, we could say, that is connected to both of you. But when you forgive that person, you actually break the chain, and you're the one who's actually free. And you might say they are free too. Yes, they are. Let them go do what they want to do and be who they want to be. And now you can be who you want to be. You don't want to have that person tied to you. Why would you want to be tied to something that's upsetting from your past, or something that you're angry at? And it might feel good to be angry. But here's the other thing. You feel angry, but anger is really depression that gets off the couch. You're actually depressed, but now you have this fuel that is driving you. So it feels good, but it's actually steroids of the soul. You're giving yourself these steroids to give you some energy and some juice, but it's fueled by an anger and a hate that is actually not healthy in the long run, will destroy you. And you have to see that for what it is and understand that this anger is not good for you. This hate is not good for you. And holding on to the past is not good for you. So you release them, and you can move now from depression to unconditional love, which then leads to healing, because you can't heal without love. You won't heal with hate. The anger feels good, but it will not heal you. Only love will heal you. So unconditional love. So now you're releasing them, you're letting them go. And forgiveness also means that you don't even have to have a relationship with them. You really don't. You got to protect you and live from where you are. But it also means that when you are forgiving that person, you don't want vengeance against them, and you don't want the worst for them. You actually still want the best for them. Like I walked the other day, and on my walk, I actually prayed for my biological father, because I think he's still alive. Both my parents who raised me are gone. My biological father, I think, is still alive. And I prayed the other day that maybe he would get to know God, because he had no belief whatsoever. And maybe towards the end of his life, he will get to know God, and he will find that freedom. And I prayed for that for him. Beautiful. If I saw him now, I would have no hate towards him. I don't know, I'd have a lot of love, but I would not have hate at all. But at the same time, I'm not angry about the past. I see every blessing that has come from not having him as my father, and even the positive aspects of him being my biological father. Unfortunately, I didn't get his height. My brother did. I'm 5'8.5" when my mom was 5'2". So unfortunately, I didn't get his height. But you see the good, you see the bad, you accept it all, you let it go, and then you receive God's love. You get rid of the sludge, and you now move forward with freedom. So hopefully that explains forgiveness.
So let's talk about guilt and shame, because whether it was you in those moments where you were saying, I needed to humble myself and I need to get rid of the ego, there's this, there's those feelings, then there's this guilt and shame feeling about what that is like for you. And I'm putting this in because the dads that are listening are full of guilt because of what they feel like is happening with their children, full of guilt about the life that they imagined it was going to be. It's not there anymore. Shame for, those of that are in the faith community. This is divorce, and it's one of the most, under the table kind of things. You don't really, that's really never supposed to happen. So in those, emotions of guilt, shame, and what you've learned and what you've seen and your leadership, ideas around that. What did you notice, and then what worked? What were practical things that worked for you?
Well, guilt and shame does not come from God. We have to know that. Guilt and
Yeah.
shame comes from the enemy.
Yeah.
And the enemy puts guilt and shame on you. And Jesus says, shame off you. So we have to know first off that guilt and shame is not something we are supposed to carry, and we were never meant to carry. But the enemy wants us to carry it. So he tells you you're not enough.
Yeah.
He tells you you don't deserve to be happy. He tells you that you're not being a good father. He tells you that you messed up your life. And those are all not true. And this goes to what I share when I talk to professional athletes. I ask them, do your negative thoughts come from you? And they go, yeah, they're in my head. And my next question is, if you believe your negative thoughts are coming from you, who would ever choose to have a negative thought? And they're like, no, I wouldn't choose a negative thought. No, you wouldn't. And so those negative thoughts come in from the enemy, and they come in so fast that you believe them. Then you reinforce them. Then you speak to them out loud. And then it does become a part of you. So you're not the thoughts you think, you're the thoughts you believe. And I would say to these fathers, the thoughts that come in that say you're not a good father, that you should feel guilt and shame, that's from the enemy, not from you. So don't agree with it. Don't believe it. From now on, start speaking truth to the lie. And the truth is, you are not a bad person. You are not a bad father. You're not a bad husband. Maybe you were, but you're not now. And you are who you're becoming. And every day you have the choice and the power and the ability to create your life and reimagine it with God. God wants to move you towards a greater and different destiny, a better destiny for you in your life. The enemy wants to say, look to your past. Look at how wrong you were. And God wants to say, no, look at what you're creating. Look at what you're becoming. And that's where you have to actually have the awareness and the understanding to say, I have the ability to create my life, and I'm going to, and I'm not going to listen to these negative thoughts that were not coming from me in the first place. You understand? Because the thoughts are coming in so fast, you believe it, you reinforce it, and then again, they become a part of you. So the more you understand how thoughts work and recognize that, you can see the battle that's going on. I wrote about this in The One Truth, and every dad should read this book on the one truth that will take you to a higher state of mind, and guilt and shame will not have power over you when you understand this. And then you know you're forgiven. If you're truly a believer, you'll know that, okay, no matter what you've done, you are forgiven if you accept Jesus as your Savior, the forgiveness of sins. He gives you his life. Right? Give him your life, right? Give him your life. He gives you his life. He gives you his spirit. His spirit now lives in you. That spirit now transforms you. And that's why you're a new creation. And I'm a new creation. I'm not the jerk that I was. I'm a completely different person. And you have the ability to actually live that way too. So it's knowing that you are forgiven. And this is not a Johnism. This is biblical, and this is the teachings of Jesus. So receive the freedom. Receive forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Don't listen to yourself with condemnation. Talk to yourself with forgiveness and love, and now move forward and be the great dad that you are. And you know what? I know a lot of these men, just love your kids.
Yeah.
Just love them. Love them as much as you can. Give your all to them. Commit to them. Sacrifice for them. You won't get awards now. You won't get recognition now. But years from now, they will say, thanks for standing by me, Dad. They will see it so clearly. And that's the hard part. For years and years and years, it won't be seen. But then later on, it will. And then also when you get to heaven, God will say, well done, good and faithful servant. And that will be beautiful words and a great sight to see. I'm seeing it now even with my own kids. They're 27, 26, daughter's about to be 28. And they see how much work I put into them, how much commitment I made to them, and how I really worked on being a better father over time. And they'll remember that forever. And I'll know that I gave them everything I got. I changed. I transformed. And so can you.
Yeah. Jon, when you just said there, a father, loving his children and the importance, hey, love your kids, love your kids, love your kids. I'm curious where and what you've learned in this ability to be able to create and fill your tank so that you can love them. Because the dads that we talk to, 1,000 a month or so, that are coming in that they want to do everything for their kids. They want to do that. However, the insides, the internals are just depleted. There's no courage, there's no confidence. They feel like they've lost a war. They feel like they don't have maybe financially what they had before. What does it look like for them to refill their life again? What does that look like?
Well, it's knowing that love casts out fear. So you may have lost the battle, but you have not lost the war. This is
Mm.
about winning the war in the end. And how do you win the war? Love the battle. So
Mm.
every day I want you to show up. And when you're spending time with your kids, you just love them. When you're not with them, you let them know that you love them. And you unconditionally love them and they feel that love. And every day you're sharing that love and living with that love, then fear has no power over you. Love is what I share with performance with high performing athletes. It's like just love the battle, love the
Mm.
game, love the competition, love the moment. This is no different. You show up every single day, loving the battle, loving the competition, and sometimes it's competition. And over time, love wins. Love just has to be greater than the fear. Your faith has to be greater about what you're doing, what you're creating, and what ultimately is you're becoming and what your kids are going to become. And so you just show up with your kids, show up fully present,
Mm.
being there with them in the moment. And you ask me, how can you bring your best self? Well, you got to feed yourself to feed them. And this is why it's so important that you are growing yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's why I wrote The Power of Positive Habits. Yeah, I want you to read the book. I'm going to say that. I want you to read it because
Yes.
I know if you read it, there's 93 habits that are going to exponentially grow you.
Yeah.
As you grow you and you do these habits, not all 93, but just pick the ones that really appeal to you that you know you want to do. And you know that will help you become a better person, a better father, a better leader. There's all these habits in there like that. And as you do these habits, you'll be able to show up with more energy, more power, more purpose as a result of that. And spend more time in prayer. One of the habits is prayer. Pray more. And the more you pray and you ask for strength and guidance and wisdom, that spirit, that Holy Spirit will give you strength and allow you to show up with more love, more power, and more presence with your kids. So feed yourself to feed others. I take a walk of gratitude every morning. I say what I'm thankful for. I've done this for 25 years now. I'm done with the walk and I just feel so much better. I'm ready to take on the day.
Yeah.
That walk of gratitude also turns into a walk of prayer, and I'm praying. And from there, I just feel ready to take on whatever challenge is coming my way.
Yeah. Those habits, John, I think you've been around long enough to know that there's so many things out there that people can do. And there's this word that comes across so many times with the dads that I'm talking to, really smart dads, really wealthy dads. And this word's accountability. And I'm curious, when you hear the word accountability, what does that word mean to you? And what have you noticed that it does for men?
Here's the key to being a great dad. It's love tough. You love your kids. You give them everything you can, including your heart and your soul, your love. You love them, but then you earn the right to challenge them. You got to push them to be great. I know if you're not with your kids all the time, you might feel guilt. You might have shame with that. When you're with them, you bring your love. But also, there are times you have to challenge them. And don't shy away from it because, I don't want my kids to hate me. The right form of accountability is actually love tough, where you're challenging them to grow, to be their best in school, to be their best in life, to be the best people they can be. And they need connecting and they need correcting.
Yeah.
But the connecting must come first. So make sure you're connecting before the correcting.
Yeah.
And as you build the relationship with them built on love, then accountability is a form of love to help them be their best. But to hold them accountable, you also have to be accountable to you and to them, where you're showing up every day to be the best you can be for them. So it looks like, here's what you can expect from me, and this is what I expect from you.
Yeah.
And remember, you're the dad. You're not there to be their friend. You're the dad. You're there to love them and call them up higher, to help them become all they're meant to be. And the more they know you love them, then they will allow you them to push them and challenge them. So accountability to me is a form of love. And so often it's having to be tough and also push them past their comfort zone to be their best. But it only works if they know that you love them.
That's so good, John. Let me just pause here for a second. Those of you guys that are listening on Spotify or Apple, if you haven't subscribed, drop a sub. There's a reason why we can't transform a million dads without your help, without you clicking a couple of buttons. Sends the algorithm going crazy, and it helps the podcast to find more people. It helps this message to get back to John and all of the resources that he has, which is absolutely incredible. Some of these that we're going to be talking about today. Couple clicks, do that now, do that today. Help change another dad's life. I really appreciate you guys in advance for doing that. And I want to get into, John, something that came up that I saw even from you and a story that came in recently. There was a dad I talked to in the last couple of days, and he had a very great life, very wealthy, dual income, very wealthy, and had all the toys, all the things, all the trips, all those things. And he was divorced, and it was cut in half. And his job was reduced to where he's in a very small apartment with a couple kids, and he's got no money. And this life that he had that was very lavish is now gone. And he's talking to me about this, telling me about how life sucks, how that when his kids come over, they're in this small house, and the house is, not this big, giant 5-6 bedroom place that they used to live. He's feeling it. He's looking at what he had, and it's gone. He's trying to look at the future, and he's just, everything out of his mouth was, sucks. I don't have this. This isn't here. I've tried all of these things. When you hear individuals that are talking like that are in those types of situations, John, there's so many books that I could throw, but I got the book writer here. So what would you be advising? What would you be guiding them when you hear stuff like that?
I would say that we create our life through our thoughts, our words, and our beliefs. And so if you're living in what ifs, it's like the coach who was saying, what if we did this, this, and this? We could have won the game.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't. So you got to live in what is, not what if.
It's good.
This is what is. This is the present moment. How do we make the most of this? Does it matter the place you're in or the time that you're actually spending with your kids and the love you're giving them? Because you can be in the most beautiful house. It could be the biggest house. But if you're not there with your kids and present with them, what good is that? Your kids will not remember the size of the house. They will remember the size of your heart and your love. So make sure you're loving your kids and spending time with them more than worrying about what I used to have. What do I have now? What can I be thankful for now? Are you alive? Are you healthy? Are your kids alive? I have friends who have lost their kids. Their kids have passed away. I have other friends where their parents have passed away and they don't get to talk to their parents anymore. I think about this often. I'm one diagnosis away from possibly having cancer and having a completely different perspective on life. So be thankful, and you'll get more things to be grateful for. I know these guys living in the past and looking at what if, but start looking at what is and then create what will be.
Wow. That's so good, John. Thank you for sharing that, dude. I want to ask you about some of these habits that we've alluded to a few times. What would you say are a few of the habits that will destroy men, dads, that you notice, that you see, very common ones probably? And then what are like maybe top 3-ish, 4 that you're like, yo, if you could light these on fire right now, these are going to get you some of the greatest growth of your life?
Well, what's funny, Anthony, is that when I wrote The Power of Positive Habits, 93 habits, most of them are very positive habits. There's only one habit that says don't do this or reduce this, and it's drinking. I said, make it a habit to reduce drinking or eliminate drinking because so many people struggle with alcohol and it ruins far too many lives. And it is one thing that makes everyone feel better when they stop drinking. People just feel better or they reduce it. So I did say that. But then I thought after the book came out, I thought I should have written a habit that said, eliminate your worst habit. Like, what is your worst habit? And we
Yeah.
all have a worst habit. Everyone's worst habit is probably going to be different. But whatever that is for you, just get rid of your worst habit. And then you'll start to be able to replace that with better, more positive habits that will then elevate your life rather than the worst habit that ultimately is destroying your life. A bad habit is lying. A bad habit is gossiping. A bad habit is cheating on your wife or your girlfriend. That's a bad habit. A bad habit is doing drugs and relying on some form of drugs. And maybe you're not drinking, but you're doing gummies. Those gummies are still a drug. A lot of people have stopped drinking or reduced drinking, but they just replaced it. I had a friend the other day that was very excited that alcohol consumption has gone down. I said, no, they've just replaced it with other things, because people are still trying to fill the hole in their soul with a counterfeit substance to make them feel better when they really are seeking a connection to God. All addiction is actually us seeking that natural positive high that comes from a relationship and connection with the creator of the universe. And that's why prayer is one of the most important things you can do, because when you pray, you connect to your creator.
Yeah.
And you were created for connection. And as you pray, you connect to your creator and you start to experience that oneness that uplifts you, that encourages you, that gives you power, peace, and presence. So that's essential. So I would say prayer is a habit that everyone needs to do. Exercise is another habit. Start lifting weights, men. Start lifting weights. You start lifting weights, increase your testosterone, your HGH, human growth hormone. You feel better. You feel stronger. Testosterone, liveliness, confidence, courage. It all comes from that. I've been lifting now since 2020. And at 55, I feel better than I did in my 40s and look better. People say all the time, you look better now than you did in your 40s, because now I'm lifting. I feel stronger and fitter and healthier. Played pickleball today against all these 30-year-olds, and I won the game, the last game. Here I am, tired, can't even walk, but battling to the end and able to win the game at 55 against all these 30-year-olds. Why? Because I take care of my body. I lift, I walk, I stretch. So those are habits that are essential. And I got a bunch of cool physical habits in the book that will elevate your physical nature and make you feel better there. And then on the mental side, talk with yourself, don't listen to yourself, is essential. Not fighting those old battles.
What does it look like when you talk to yourself for you, John? Like a lot of these guys, and this is all in our, in our school community, our group, like this is all obviously for me, it's scripture, power of life and death is in the tongue. So for you, it's helpful for these guys when they first start hearing it. They just think they're weird walking around the block. But I love for you, because you've been doing this so long and you've watched the results from all levels, and especially the highest levels in the world of people that are, using these kinds of things and this stuff. What does it look like practically? What would you recommend?
I mean, it looks like what works for you, and no two people are the same.
Yeah.
So we'll often look like, I'm a little nervous. That's right. I trust in you, Lord. Looks like a prayer. I trust in you, God. Give me strength.
Yeah.
It looks like quoting scripture. It looks like all things are possible with God, right? It looks like that. It looks like faith. It looks like hope. It sounds like, let's go. I didn't come here to be average. Let's battle.
Yeah.
It looks like love the battle, which is what I said to myself today. 10-10, tiebreaker, love the battle. Let's go. So it's reminding myself to love the battle. Fear nothing, attack everything. Let's go. Fear not. It looks like anything that in the moment, it's recalling scripture, it's recalling words of encouragement. It's giving myself a vamos, let's go. It's, so whatever it may be, it's looking like I'm just not going to let those negative thoughts come in. I'm going to talk to myself with words of encouragement and words of life. And it's pretty funny because I'm a good encourager of other people.
Yeah.
And sometimes often I wasn't my own greatest encourager. And one of my favorite habits in the book is to become your own greatest encourager. Don't be the one who beats yourself up. The enemy wants you to beat yourself up. He wants you to defeat yourself because he knows he actually can't defeat you. He only defeats you when you actually believe the lies, and then you start to defeat yourself. Like your friend who says life sucks. You start to say that, you become that. So speak words of life. And as a man thinketh, he becomes. That's in the Bible. So as you think, you become. So what thoughts are you going to think? Well, the best thoughts are scripture, and fueling yourself with those words of truth are what give you power.
Yeah, that's so good. John, you were saying before, back to like beginning of the story where you said something where you were addicted to try to prove yourself. And when I heard that line that you had sort of alluded into, it's so many of these dads here, it's an identity crisis when they get
Yeah.
divorced. And they're now trying to prove what they lost or that they're a good dad, or in different ways and walks, they're trying to prove something. And when you were going through this, trying to prove yourself in these different ways, what does that bring up for you? And what actually worked for you to get through that proving of yourself? For these guys listening.
I mean, I think we all have a little bit of a desire to prove ourselves every day. You're a man. You're naturally a competitor, a fighter. If you played sports, you want to win.
Yeah.
So I think we all have a little desire to want to prove ourselves. It's just the unhealthy desire of proving ourselves, knowing that our identity is tied to the outcome and the performance. And as you just said, a lot of people's identity, a lot of men's identity are shattered during divorce because you had this identity of a father, of being in a marriage, and you might have looked like the perfect family. And then all of a sudden that gets shattered. And that's what happened to me. Like I had to lose everything. Lost my job during the dot-com crash, lost my ego, lost my pride. Like I lost everything except my marriage, but felt like I was going to lose my marriage. So in that mix of losing is where I found God. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to know that our identity must be connected to our Creator, and that we are a child of God and we are loved. And when you truly know that, it's not tied to your performance. It's not tied to your label. It's not tied to your job and your role. You are who you are. Like you might be a dad, but you're a child of God and you're His child. And I think loving yourself that way is really important.
Yeah.
I had to lose my identity of someone who was a mover and shaker and successful person to find out what truly, truly matters and what I'm truly made of. If I'm called a best-selling author a lot, and I've accomplished all these things, and I often think like, if I didn't have any of those accolades and titles, and people didn't know me from their books, and I was just going somewhere where no one knew me, what would that be like? And I was just in Italy, I was in Europe, and no one knew me. I was pretty happy. I didn't need anyone to know me. Like I don't need to be known. I had everyone say, "Oh, you Jon Gordon." Happens a lot in U.S. airports, but doesn't happen in Italy. And I was fine with that. Like that's okay. I don't need to have a title. I just need to live with the love of God and know that I am His, and that's all that matters. So I think when your identity is tied to any kind of outcome or label, it's not a bad thing that it gets shattered. So now what it is it's about creating your identity now. Like, who do you want to be now? Yeah. What kind of dad do you want to be? What kind of father, like not just dad, but father. What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of family do you want to create now? Do you want to get remarried? Do you want to wait until your kids get older? Like, it's going to depend, right? What do you want to build as you go forward? What is your vision? What is your mission? It's important to start thinking about these things. What is it that you want to create? It doesn't have to be based on your identity, but ultimately, what do you want to create? And what do you want to become? And become is not identity. Become is ultimately the difference maker, the impactor, the uplifter, the person who can impact their family and change the world. That's what I'm talking about.
That's good, John. When I was first grabbing some of your books, the one, especially with smaller kids, I have a 16-year-old, 14-year-old, and 8-year-old, and the energy buzz came up, and obviously that's the one that's really circled around the world quite a few times.
Yeah.
And I just found so many things in there that were so practical for me. But I'd love for you to just unpack some of that energy bus for dads to sort of hear and understand the importance of energy because, especially in the Christian world, yes, yeah, especially in the Christian world, it's like such a weird thing, to be able to talk about energy. But I'd love for you to sort of walk this out of some of those things in the book that can really help these dads that are, drained. They're literally like, and you talk about vampires and all that. What are some of those things that dads can like take away today about that?
You know, it's funny though. You just said it's weird to talk about energy in the Christian world. Why? Why is it weird to talk about energy in the Christian world when we are living in an energetic reality? This is an energetic expression that we live in. It's an energetic reality. We are made of energy. Everything is energy. E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
So this is actually God's creation. God created this energetic reality we are living in. I don't know how he did it, but I know he created this energetic reality. And we are making sense of this world through wavelengths, vibrations, and frequencies that we're able to see. That we actually turn light from what we see, and it hits the optic nerve and allows us to see images. And then we turn vibrations into sounds that we make sense of. In the auditory nerve. So the optic nerve and the auditory nerve now allows us through our brain, 86 billion neurons firing, zzz, going like this, zzz, that allows us to see this reality that we're experiencing. And then when you die, you turn to dust. Your body literally just turns to dust. Think about how weird that is.
Yeah.
So what are you? What is your being? And we're more light beings than we are physical beings, actually. And we are 99.99999% empty space, actually, because we're made up of atoms that is made up of emptiness. So we're actually light. And what are we? We're a spirit and a soul. So we are a spirit and a soul. And once you know that spirit and soul that you are is why Jesus talked about nourishing your soul and storing up your treasures in heaven, not on things in earth, because this is a temporary reality. You have a temporary physical body right now, but ultimately your soul is eternal. Give your life to Jesus. It's an eternal soul, and it lives, well, it's eternal, live for Jesus. Apart from Jesus, you're living somewhere else. And so it's knowing that. And as you do, then everything makes sense. So the energy bus is all about the idea of that everything is energy.
Yeah.
And we got to live with positive energy and love and purpose and ultimately living in direct relationship and connection to God.
Yeah.
And so the energy bus is a book about a guy who was miserable, negative, and he has to take the bus to work, and he meets Joy, the bus driver, and she calls him Sugar. And she and Akesh, the characters, teach him the 10 rules for the ride of his life that not only become a more positive person, but a better father, a better husband. And it's about getting his team on the bus and moving in the right direction with a shared vision, focus, and purpose. And it's about the fact that everyone is going to need a team to ultimately create success. No one creates success alone. And we all need to overcome the adversity, the challenges, the energy vampires that try to sabotage us to be who we're meant to be. So that was my first book. Wrote it many years ago in 2006, came out in 2007. And then since then, obviously, I've written The Carpenter and The Garden, which is a strong faith book, The One Truth, which explains everything of separation and connection and how God ultimately is trying to unite us and connect us back to himself through Jesus. And as he does, that's the kind of life we're meant to live and how we're meant to live more powerfully in this world. God did not create us to go through this world feeling powerless, feeling the shame and the guilt and ultimately being worried and chronically stressed all the time. He created us to live with power and peace and courage and confidence to take on this world and to bring heaven to earth and make earth like heaven. So it's a place that we can actually transform with his love. That's what we're here to do.
So good, Jon. I'm just grateful for you, man, for your time, for just our time in Atlanta. We got to kick it, for showing up for these dads today. Where can they find you? What's the best next step to get to find Jon Gordon?
Yeah, Anthony, if they want to find me, just Instagram at Jon Gordon 11, Jon Gordon 11. My website is jongordon.com, jongordon.com. I'm on X, and every social media platform out there, LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, you name it. So just, follow me on there. I'm always sharing advice and strategies. Definitely read The Power of Positive Habits. You will get a lot out of it. And if I can ever encourage you in any way, just let me know. And I just know, again, I want to just speak life to these dads. You're not who you are. Guilt and shame will take you nowhere you want to go. Just let it go. Forgive yourself. Forgive your ex. Love your kids. Create an amazing future. And then years from now, after loving them and being there for them, they're going to see you as the hero that you truly are. And they're going to know you gave everything to them. And that is what they are going to remember.
So good, Jon. Gentlemen, go follow Jon. Find his books, all of them, get them. If this episode hit you, give us a follow or a sub on Apple or Spotify. Share it with a dad who's in a worse shape than you. I love you guys. I pray for you every single day. I'll see you guys on the next one. God bless you.